today, right? So anyway, we have Michelle Gilbert on the show today. She formerly I dealt with her all the time at Comcast, where she handled people like me and Matt, the press people. And then she left there last year to start her own gig. And it's Purple Engine Consulting. Is that it?
Purple Engine Coaching and
Coaching.
Consulting.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. We always assume, particularly since you're a newbie here,
Yeah,
that nobody knows what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit about what you are doing. So,
sure.
what is this all about?
Yeah, so throughout my entire career, what I've really enjoyed the most is helping other people grow their careers. I've been a mentor to many individuals. I've led presentation training classes at Comcast, and I had this very unique opportunity to get certified as a professional coach. And so when the company last year went through, well, actually, it was 2023, they went through some structural changes that affected my department. I decided to fast track my plans. And so, what I get to do is really help professionals become the type of leader that they would want to work for, and really just helping them to achieve the success that they're looking for.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing. I understand some of what you're doing is with college graduates and job interviews, and that apparently a study recently indicates many college grads aren't doing well in job interviews.
Yeah. So, in addition to working with professionals, I have this um, warm spot in my heart for college graduates. I've done a lot of guest lecturing across several universities, and I have a college student myself, and I see some of the struggles that they're having. And quite honestly, the struggles aren't that different than from what we faced. We graduated from college. We didn't really know how to position ourselves well in interviews, but somehow we muddled through it. And the truth of the matter is, nobody should have to go through that alone. So, one of the reasons, though, why this generation is struggling more than perhaps we did is quite honestly technology. Um, they are used to doing everything with their phones. My daughter orders food on her phone, they socialize on their phone. Sometimes they're even resolving conflict on their phone. And so, what, as a result of that, they're not comfortable having a live conversation with someone that they don't know. And when you are doing a job interview, that's exactly what you need to do. And great job interviews don't feel like interviews, they feel like conversations. So if you're not comfortable conversing with someone you don't know, it can feel really awkward. So that's why I've put together a class so that I can get this generation more comfortable with that process and understanding what they need to do to prepare.
Well, I'll bet you can offer them some tips for what they can do to prepare, right?
I'd be happy to offer tips. And by the way, let me just let you know that what we're going to be talking about in the class is not just relevant to college students. It's information that we all need to know. And many of us who have been at the same company for 10, 15, even 20 years, and all of a sudden we go through a change and we haven't had a job interview in a while. So it's really beneficial to be able to brush up on those skills. And some of the people I've been in contact with are in their 40s and 50s looking for that next opportunity. So this information really is relevant to everyone. And I would say that it really starts with preparation. So, researching the company, but beyond their mission statement and the products sold. So, think about researching the industry as a whole. Who are their competitors? What are the trends in the market? What news have they made? That one should resonate for you guys, right? How much has that company been in the news? If you're aware of that, and you integrate that into an interview, that potential employer is going to be impressed. Another tip that I think is really important is to the best of your ability, figure out who you're interviewing with. Look for things that you might have in common that might enhance the conversation. Here's where technology does work in our favor. So if I know that I'm going to be interviewing with both of you and I've never met you before, I can go to LinkedIn and figure out what your job history is, how long you've been in the positions, maybe some interesting awards that you've won, and we may have some things in common that I can integrate into that interview that, again, turns that interview to feel like more of a conversation.
You also mentioned that dreaded interview question, tell me about yourself. What other typical questions can job candidates expect? We'll start with that.
Yeah. So, there seem to be a litany of typical questions that often get asked. Sometimes they're not asked in the exact way that we expect them, but the more that we can anticipate the types of questions that we're going to be asked and then prepare for those questions, the better off we're going to be. So, some of the other questions that I remember being asked in interviews is, tell me about a time you failed. What's your weakness or what are you working on? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How do you handle stress? And the key to all of these is to think about how you can highlight your top qualities in your answer. It's not about making sure that you don't show weakness. Potential employers, they know that we're not perfect, but they want to get a sense of how we recover from disappointments or mistakes.
So,
So,
what happens if you're asked something that you're not expected? How do you recommend people handle that?
Sure, that's a great question. So, the first thing that I would say is don't freak out. Take a moment. It's okay. You can even say, that's a good question. Let me just think for a minute because I want to be able to answer it in a thoughtful manner and give yourself a moment. And again, this goes back to the more work you do on the front end to think about the accomplishments you have, the skills, traits, qualities that you possess. Even though you may not have prepared for that exact question, you may easily be able to pivot and provide an example that is still relevant. And in interviews, and this has happened to me in interviews, and I've said something like, I'm not sure if this exactly addresses what you're looking for, but let me share a story with you. And then I briefly provide them with an example that I think has some relevance to what they're going after.
Hmm.
since we've only got a few minutes left, let me get right into it. You're leading a 5-week masterclass series starting January 26th to help, all these people you've been talking about learn these skills and get better at finding a job. Why don't you talk a little about that?
Sure. So I'm really excited about this course. This is going to be 5 weeks, as you said, starting on January 26th. And here's what we're going to cover. The first week, we're going to talk about interview preparation that's going to boost your confidence and impress potential employers. Then we'll go on to creating your why me story and demonstrating that you're a top candidate. We'll follow up with leveling up your resume and job search tips with expert strategies and insider advice. And then leveraging LinkedIn to boost your professional brand. And finally, we'll end it with learning to write cover letters and thank you notes that sound human. And all of the classes will be recorded, not just in case someone can't attend live, but for unlimited access because 6 months from now, you may want a refresher on one of those weeks, and I want someone to be able to come back and have the true value of being able to watch it again.
All right. So if folks want to sign up for this class that starts on the 26th, which is next week, Sunday, how do they do that?
So the best way to sign up, I don't have a fancy way to sign up. Email me. Let's have a quick conversation so I can make sure this is a good fit for you. You can email me at Michelle at purpleenginecoaching.com. Michelle has 2 L's. And if you want to check out more information on the course, you can find it at www.purpleenginecoaching.com.